What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of 100 Yards Football Sports Talk Radio. I'll be your host and producer, Logan Landers. Joining me here today to talk about the Miami Hurricanes 2024 team preview. He's from the Elite Sports and Entertainment Network. He is Jay McLovin. Jay, how you doing, my friend? And how is the U going to do in 2024?
Yeah, I'm doing well, Logan. Thanks for asking. Yeah, University of Miami, man. Yeah, they are currently ranked at 20 right now in the poll. I'm predicting about 9 wins. I think they'll get this season. Last year, they were 7-6, so I got them on a 2-game bump up in the win column. Thanks in no part to a guy named Cameron Ward at 6'2", 220, the transfer from Washington State. The guy played the FCS, Logan. That's where he started. Then he went into FBS. He's on currently at year number 6. I don't know how you get 6 years of freaking college eligibility, but he got 6 years of college eligibility. This guy is a pro in the world of college football, right? So, I figure, you look at his stats from, 2022? He had 3,736 yards, 311 average per game with 25 touch and 7 picks. And then, of course, then he came over. You look at head coach Mario Cristobal, who's in his 3rd season with a 12-13 record, who could be potentially on the hot seat over at the U, is probably thinking his lucky stars that he got a quarterback like Cameron Ward out of the portal to potentially, possibly save his job. You look at the schedule, Logan. They got Florida, FSU, Louisville, Duke. These are all some teams in the ACC that could give these guys fits. If you look a little bit deeper into Cameron Ward, I like this guy. And why I think he is so good is he has a strong arm. He can transition in and out of the pocket well. He ball fakes well. And then he also can throw off the platform, much like a guy named Patrick Mahomes. You may have heard of a guy named Patrick Mahomes. Mm-hmm. He's creative. He's dynamic, Logan. He can throw the ball into tight windows with accuracy. And he can convert on 3rd down with his legs. Who else does that? Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen type guys.
Yeah.
You look at his career, he's got a little over 13,874 yards, 119 touchdowns, Logan. And he's been in the FBS now for 2 years? He had 2 years, I think, at Washington State, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, Cam Ward did, yep.
Yeah. So, and then if you tie him in with another high-value guy that they got out of the transfer portal and running back from Oregon State, transfer from Oregon State, Damian Martinez, mm-hmm. He had 1185 and 9 touchdowns. So you got a great quarterback, you got a great running back, and then really all you got to do now at this point, or what should be a concern at this point, is your defense. You got to fortify them in the trenches, and also the secondary could be a concern. So I think you got the offense on point. I think now it's just they got to look at that defense a little bit more and get that defensive line a little bit more squared away. You look at the O-line, it's anchored by freshman right tackle Francis Movagoa. Logan, what is up with these names, man?
Yeah, it's Francis Movagoa. Yeah, I know, and look, I will say they don't provide pronunciation guides when we're doing these. We don't have those. We don't got those yet.
Some of these guys' names. I mean, I'm reading a hockey name rather than a football name. But
hey, and that's the thing too is that if you're announcing the game or whatnot, it's like, oh look, there's number 61 for Francis. That what a great pancake he had there, the right tackle. I got you. Go ahead, my friend.
No, you're good. But that's exactly what I'm doing, so I appreciate that. And then you got NFL prospect over at left tackle and Jalen Rivers. Should be amazing along that O-line. So you got some really good pair of offensive tackles that are going to anchor that O-line down from not only for the running back, but also in protection for Ward himself. You look at the wide receiver group, they're led by slot standout Xavier Restrepo. Are deeper and stronger despite the tight end underachieving last season. So, they got a good wide receiving core, Logan. All the skill positions are set. They did lose star safeties, Kitchens and Williams to the draft, which is where I was referring back to that defense. Needs to look at that secondary a little bit more. Starters quarterback Daryl Porter Jr., Marshall transfer, Deone Hill, and Washington transfer, Marshall Powell. So they did get some guys through the transfer portal. Hopefully we'll be able to anchor that part down. And then you also look at middle linebacker. You have Francisco Mavagoa, which is Francis's brother, over there anchoring that down. He had 18 tackles. He's the older brother of Francis, actually. Is coming back. He's also has 7.5 sacks, 1 pick, 7 QB hurries, and 2 forced fumbles. So again, you got the front four that is really your issue. Maybe that secondary could be an issue just because you don't know quite yet what you have. But the linebacking core in the middle is somewhat stabilized. So that's a good thing. Miami and FSU are pretty much the versions now of Ohio, Michigan, or Oklahoma, Texas. So again, these are just things you got to look at. I think this is just another one of those things. So that could be a huge rivalry getting ready to heat up. Second in the ACC last year was Miami's offense. So, like I said, that the offense is going to be straight. It's just a little bit of the things on that defense. When I look at keys to the season, I would say control and limit the turnovers. They turned the ball over 22 times last season, 8 turnovers over the last 10 games. And Logan, when you do 3 or more turnovers a game, generally speaking, you lose the game. So that's something they really have to concern themselves about is those turnovers. Since 2017, Miami is 0-20 when turning the ball over 3 or more.
0-20. Wow.
That's just a little bit more reference to what I was talking about when you're 0-3. So that could be a huge thing for those guys. And it was definitely something they got to look at. The key game, obviously, is FSU, October 26th. They've not beaten them since 2020, and they tied deep into the third quarter last year. So they were on pace last year, but then they just lost it in the fourth. Don't overlook the USF game. They're looking pretty good, and they're looking to do big things. Also, I would say likely is Florida A&M. 50-50 would be Ball State, Cal, Duke, Florida, FSU, and everybody else. So the likely win would be over Florida A&M, and then everybody else would come in after that.
Yeah.
But, I'm sorry, man.
No, you're good. And I think, too, with Miami, and you mentioned a little bit in your opening statement, but Mario Cristobal, right? He signed that big, and I mean big buddy deal with the U back in 22, right? 22.7 mil to be exact. Now, it's been 2 years, Jay, and they're pretty much getting at this time Manny Diaz 2.0, it seems. He went 5-7 in 22, and then last year, as you said, kind of underwhelming. They went 7-6. Is 24 the year they get it turned around? Is that where they take that next big leap? And as you said, their offense, I like the pieces that they have, the ones that they've added, right, with Ward. They also added Reese Poffensberger, one of the best FCS quarterbacks coming out of last year. So I like him as a backup in case you never know what could happen. Always good to have. You mentioned the running attack that they're going to be bringing on this year with Damian Martinez and Mark Fletcher Jr., the backup. Like the receivers, like I said, Samuel Brown, Jacoby George as well, Xavier Restrepo. They got some really good talent. I think their offense is going to soar. The defense, as you said, needs to be where they get stronger this year. It doesn't help that you've lost James Williams and Cameron Kitchens. Good you bring back, though, Daryl Porter Jr. You get over Marshall transfer and Deani Hill, and also a Washington transfer in Michelle Powell. So you've lost some guys, you've gained some guys, right? We'll see how they can do in this new system. Like you said, Francis Mwagwa, the older brother of Francis, he's coming back for one more year. 18 tackles for loss last year, Jay. 7.5 sacks as well. 1 pick, 7 QB hurries. I mean, that guy is getting primed, I think, for a high pick in the NFL draft and he's hoping to come back for one more season and just make him look even nicer and even prettier heading into the 25 draft. But you've got, really, really solid players. Akeem Mesdor, he'll do his thing. He'll help out. Of course, you have players like C.J. Clark, who's coming over from NC State, and Marley Cook as well helping out. He's over, used to be at Middle Tennessee. So I like this unit. And, of course, we can't forget about, their very talented defensive end and Ruben Bain Jr. So I think that the defense will take a step up this year. It also helps, too, that we got to show some love here. that you've got special teams, right? You've got Andre Borregales, one of the best kickers in the nation. First team All ACC last year. Luke Ross is semifinalist. So they've got some good pieces all around. I think this is where they step it up, Jay. I don't know if they're going to, quote unquote, set the world on fire. But like you said, they're currently ranked right now. We know the AP Top 25 just came out the other day. They're currently listed at 19th at this time. And I think that's a fair standing. Some might say it's a little bit high. Some might say, they did just enough to get into, top 25. But I think when you look at preseason, especially, you look at what you have, and it's more so just a prediction about where everyone thinks they're going to land. And I think Miami's going to have a good season. I think I could see them definitely coming away, Jay, with a ranking at the end of the season. I don't think they're going to be a top 12 team quite yet, but I'm expecting a better season out of the U, and I think that this is finally going to be the year in year 3 that Mario Cristobal and his company and his coaches around him, his team, really kind of gets it together, and they make something this year. Now, why did it result in an ACC championship? I don't know. I don't know, Jay, but they've got some really good talent. And nonetheless, man, I'm excited to see how Miami is going to do this upcoming season out there, of course, in the ACC. Jay McLovin, I appreciate you, my friend, coming on the show, talking about the U today, talking about Miami and how they're going to do. Want to hear your comments, though, our fans on Facebook and YouTube. How will Miami perform this year? What's their win-loss record? Will they be a top 12 team? Will they make it to the ACC championship? We want to hear all of that and more in our comments. And, of course, if you want to hear more about what me and Jay have to say about really just any sports topics out there, be sure to go over and check out the Elite Sports and Entertainment Network. Well, like I said, from my co-host, Jay McLovin, I'm your host and producer, Logan Landers. Guys, we'll talk to you again.